Futurama had many episodes, but only 10 of those can make it on this list. Which ones do we love the most? Well, here on The Rewind, we're about to figure out just that. Here's our picks for the top 10 Futurama episodes. Number 10. The Farnsworth Parabox. Not only did this episode take a simple premise and explored it to its full potential, but it also introduced the concept of multiple universes in the show's canon. The main cast are able to meet and interact with an alternate version of themselves from a parallel universe thanks to a special box that's used to jump through dimensions. This also allows everyone to jump through multiple universes that end up leading to satisfying events, whether it's for humor's sake or just for pure nonsense. Number 9. Space Pilot 3000. The episode that kicks off the entire series is also the same episode it continuously comes right back to. It sets itself up to be one of the most important, being the result of many that come after it, but also being expanded upon in future episodes to add to Fry's overall backstory and the life he lived before being frozen for 1,000 years.
Pizza delivery for, icy wiener. Oh, crud.
Number 8. The Sting. One of Futurama's darkest episodes, it tackles certain ideas that not a lot of other cartoons would attempt at the time. During one of their missions, Fry is impaled by a giant bee stinger, ultimately killing him in front of Leela, followed by her guilt from the mission taking over. Throughout the episode, Leela continues to have hallucinogenic nightmares revolving around Fry's death, and her regrets as someone who was very close to him. It ended up tugging a lot of heartstrings the more we experienced the surrealness alongside Leela. But by the end, we found out that things ended up happening a different way. Number 7. The Luck of the Frirish. This is probably one of Futurama's earliest examples of how sentimental the show actually is under the surface. While a lot of people come to Futurama for comedy, a lot of them stay for the heart of the show. After figuring out there was a trace of another Philip J. Fry in the past, Fry believes his brother stole his identity and made it his own for malicious reasons. By the end, we find out Fry's brother named his own son after Fry in honor of him, as a way to keep his legacy alive. It then turns from a misunderstanding between siblings into a heartfelt moment that redefines what Fry's family actually meant to him. Number 6. Amazon Women in the Mood. A double date arranged by Zap to be closer to Leela, their dinner comes to a halt when they crash land into a planet that's overrun by Amazon women. Once Fry and Bender show up to help them, the women hold Zap and Fry hostage and punish them by being pleasured to death. This means they'll keep doing the snoo-snoo whenever the women want it, until the men's bodies can no longer handle it. This episode is full of hilarious moments, and it's easily remembered by tons of viewers given how unusual the concept was. Number 5. The Why of Fry. Earlier, we mentioned how the pilot episode of Futurama would later be brought back in many forms to expand on Fry's character arc and everything that relates to his original time period. Turns out, Fry's unfortunate fate of being frozen for 1,000 years wasn't so much of an accident after all. Nibbler was responsible for Fry's chair tipping back after the countdown, purposely making sure Fry would make it to the future, being that he was the universe's only hope to put an end to Brainspawn's latest threat. The entire episode practically retconned everything we knew about the pilot, making us rethink the entire series from that point moving forward. Whether it was unintentional or miraculous foresight, it was a definite game changer. Number 4. Godfellas. After an asteroid with signs of intelligent life crashes onto Bender, the sentient beings begin inhabiting Bender as their home planet, recognizing him as their god. Without being completely capable of managing that sort of responsibility, things go south when the inhabitants begin to go into war and kill each other over unnecessary conflict. Bender ends up meeting a godlike entity that counsels him and sends him back home. Even if you've never seen a Futurama episode before, just about anyone can enjoy this episode on its own, or even just for the ideas it presents that were unlike any other cartoon of its time. Number 3. Meanwhile. The last episode in the series was both one of the saddest as well as the most satisfying when it comes to series finales. Fry is able to jump backwards in time depending on when and where the special remote leaves a checkpoint to jump back to. At some point, he ends up being stuck in an endless loop of falling from the top of a building after thinking Leela stood him up. The only way out of the situation is by inevitably collapsing on the pavement and dying a gruesome death. Thankfully, his friends are able to break his fall. but his fall would break the remote, which corrupts space and time at a seemingly permanent state, leaving Fry and Leela the only two people alive who aren't frozen. After getting married and spending their entire lives together in a paused world, they repeat their lives again, causing the entirety of the show to repeat itself from where it all started. So in a way, there's really no end to the cycle. Number 2. Roswell that ends well. There has always been a fun paradox scientists theorize about, where if you go back in time to kill your grandfather, you would never be born, which means you never went back to kill him, which also means you would have been born. You can see where it starts to get a bit confusing. Fry basically breaks this paradox by coming to terms with the fact that he himself is his own grandfather. From that point on, his fate is sealed, officially being part of a never-ending cycle where his destiny relies on his very existence. This would mean his dad is his son. Nah, we rather not dive too deep into it. Number 1. Jurassic Park. Being one of the most emotionally gut-punching episodes in the entire series, Jurassic Park earns its throne with its pacing, intriguing way of unveiling lore, and revealing to us what happened to Fry's dog Seymour after Fry was frozen for 1,000 years. After finding a fossilized version of Seymour, Fry anticipates his revival, but changes his mind after finding out Seymour lived a full life before passing away from old age, believing that he forgot all about Fry and moved on. Unbeknownst to Fry though, the truth is a harder pill to swallow, as we, the audience, find out that Seymour waited for Fry every single day at the same exact spot, patiently anticipating the day that Fry comes back. As we already know, Fry would never come back to Seymour, meaning he hopelessly waited for Fry until his very last breath. After going over those iconic episodes, it's easy to see why Futurama left such a huge impact with its viewers. Which ones were your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to The Rewind for more lists like these, and make sure to hit the bell so you can stay notified whenever we upload a new video. Until next time.